welcome back to Cityline. It is that time of year again that if you are somebody who's familiar with some of the activities around UPS, no spring is ever complete without the flea market. So please join me in welcoming Jill Jackson. She is the president of the University of Puget Sound Women's League. Welcome to Jill.
Thank you, Amanda.
And then you brought with you your historian, which always makes me sit up straighter. University of Puget Sound Women's League historian, Kim McDowell. Welcome to Cityline, Kim.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
It's great to have both of you here. So, Kim, I'm going to put you on the hot seat first here and ask you to explain to our viewers what is the Women's League and what's their history?
Well, the Women's League is one of the oldest organizations on the UPS campus. This is our 121st year. We were founded in 1900, which was before the university was located at the current campus. And we have been working together ever since to support the university in a variety of ways. When we first started, our goal was to endow a chair in the English and Literature department. And over the years, we have engaged in a variety of activities that support the university. We have helped raise money to build buildings and furnish them. We have held sewing bees to sew curtains for the dorms. In the old days, women wore white dresses for graduation instead of caps and gowns. And the Women's League made the dresses for the students who couldn't afford to buy their own dress. We helped feed students in the dormitories during the 2017 Spanish flu epidemic. We helped start the university's home economics department. Those activities began around 1914. In the minutes, they talk about wanting to create a domestic science department. Wow. So beyond all of that, it's simply a group of dedicated women who enjoy getting together and engaging in activities that help support the university.
So a couple of those activities that you've mentioned, and I love that you fed students in 1917 the Spanish flu and that you've sewn dresses. Some of those activities could be viewed, I'm not viewing them, but they could be viewed as female activities. So this begs the question, are men allowed to join the Women's League?
Well, that's a very good question. And that is in the beginning, it was not sure something that was considered. I mean, we were a support group. There were many women's organizations at that time, and it was just kind of a natural activity, like a women's auxiliary in a church, for example. And it's funny you asked that question because we have talked about that many times over the years. And this year, our president, Jill Jackson, took things a step further, and we drilled down into that topic and engaged in conversation with many experts and people on campus who could help us. Our interest is in having an inclusive and diverse group. So I will let Jill take it from there.
Oh, Jill, we're passing the hot seat to you.
Yeah, I was grateful there for a moment that she was tackling that question and not me. But yes, no, we did establish a task group force this year to delve into that specific question, whether we should allow men in. And like Kim said, we did go to several people, experts on the university campus, and we checked in with them, and we came away feeling like we want to stay a unique group and that it was okay to say all women group. You know, anybody who identifies as a woman can join. So we are trying to be as inclusive as possible.
Well, I want to commend you and your team for even bringing up the subject and doing a deep dive, as we say, because that's really all I think most people in the day are looking at is, was it considered? Does it fit the parameters of what the mission and vision is of this organization? And I think you've done your due diligence. So Jill, when we talk about, we listened to Kim talk about all of those activities, how much have you been able to raise in a typical year for scholarships?
You know, it has varied through the years, but I would say in the last 6 to 8 years, we've done about $25,000 to $35,000 a year. And a lot of that is variable due to the attendance at the annual flea market. So
let's talk about this flea market. As I said, it is iconic. It is the place, it puts the field house on the map most of the time. So let's talk about, Jill, how did the flea market online come to be? Because last year it was not online, was it?
no, it was not, because we made the decision on March 4th to cancel the March 20th event last year. We were one of the first places in Tacoma to make a decision to cancel such a public event. I remember this specifically. And it did catch everybody by surprise, you know, of course, the whole nation, you know, the whole world. So we had a storage unit full of items, and we have these lovely women who curate the jewelry every year. And we had these leftovers, and I had a very enthusiastic Women's League member come and say, hey, I just participated in this online auction for this other local nonprofit, and I think this would be a great fit for the Women's League. And so we started with taking the jewelry that would have been in the jewelry department from the flea market. And this enthusiastic member got the job of curating that even further. So she spent hours and, you know, weeks researching all this jewelry. And it's so funny. There was just so many treasures buried in it. It was just amazing.
So it sounds like what you're saying is that this year it is more of a curation, more of a state, kind of a thrift store feel, as opposed to previous years, you've had vendors. Is that correct, Jill?
That is correct. So we have a few vendors who have donated some items, but we hope to return to that format next year in person, of course. So this is just an alternative to what we could do. We still want to keep the flea market alive in everybody's minds. Like you said, it's so iconic.
It is. It is. So, Kim, let's talk about the history of the flea market and then what we had to do to move it virtual.
Well, the vendors have always been a very important part of the flea market, but this all began back in 1968. In 1967, the Women's League had a rummage sale to raise money for a worthy cause at the university, and they raised $431. And so when they were planning the next year's fundraising event, one of the members who had recently visited the Paris flea markets suggested that we hold an event in the field house. We rent out spaces to a variety of vendors. We had a few of our own booths, just like this year, it's kind of all Women's League. We had a few of our own booths, and we raised $3,200. And so that was the beginning. And since then, of course, it's become a fun, popular community event. I mean, how fun is it to go shopping with your friends and support a good cause and support the great vendors and local crafts people in the local area?
So the Women's League has this down pat, but this year you've turned this upside down and now it's virtual. And you said the magic phrase, Paris flea markets. I've been to those flea markets, and I've always made the connection of that's what I was feeling when I walked up there, in terms of how it feels once you get inside. So what steps did you take to move this virtually, and where did you get the experience?
Oh, well, we've been learning as we go along. I mean, obviously, we are doing this out of necessity, but it has become more and more fun, and the members have become increasingly excited as we have prepared things. So Jill can attest. We took pictures of the items, and then we've taken new pictures of the items because we kind of get better at it as we go along. So it's really been learning on the fly.
I love that. I think that that's a phrase besides "you're on mute" that will always be a part of the pandemic.
So true.
So Jill, how do people get their items? Because the auction starts March 19th. It goes all the way to March 28th. We've been showing the website below where they can register. But the big question is, how do you get your items, especially with social distancing?
Right. So all the items will be picked up locally, and we have a network of volunteers, Women's League members, who have said they would help disperse. So we'll have little satellites that people can choose which location they want to go pick up their items from throughout the local area.
Oh, I love that. You guys have thought of everything. But for an organization that's been around for 121 years, I think I kind of expect that you would think of everything. Last question for you both, and I'll start with you, Jill, first. Who would you like to thank? Because it takes a village, regardless of if you're in the field house or if you are Zooming to do this.
I would like to thank my team of Women's League members who are helping put this on, the person who's doing data entry. Her name is Sean, and then Patty, who curated all of this. It's great. I would like to thank all the Women's League members who have donated items. Their friends and family have done it. And then there's some people out in the community that have also participated. And I'm going to give a shout out to Tease Chocolates, who donated this beautiful $200 basket full of chocolates. You know, it's going to be so popular. So,
oh my gosh, I may have to log on and like start bidding on the Tease chocolate. Kim, is there anyone you'd like to thank that's on your list before we say goodbye?
Well, yes. You mentioned men earlier, and over the years, obviously, men and other family members have contributed greatly to the flea market. But beyond that, I would like to thank the community. I mean, we would not be able to do this and be able to award so many scholarships to students over the years without the support of the community. So again, we try to make it a fun event so people will want to come, but we could not do it without community members who support us.
That's lovely. And on behalf of the community, or a community member, I want to say thank you, because it's iconic. And I think right now we're all wanting to look around and say, what is staying the same? What will show us that we are getting back to some kind of normal? So I thank you for putting this on so flawlessly. And certainly I have high hopes for next year. So thank you both so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
You are more than welcome. We have much more to come on Cityline, so don't go away. We'll be right back.